Welcome to A Guide to Every Deck in Modern. Today we're looking at Jund. Jund, which has been given the unfortunate moniker of Boomer Jund to differentiate it from other decks in its colors, but generally just called Jund, is one of the oldest decks in the format and, as with all 3+ color value piles, also one of the priciest. Along with 4-color Blink, it's one of the decks by which all other mid-range decks must be measured. Jund is a mid-range deck that utilizes a combination of discard spells and removal to disrupt the opponent while pressuring them with efficient creatures. It has a plethora of versatile answers and value cards to keep up with opposing grindy decks. There is no specific or stock build of Jund, and indeed, the deck has to constantly adapt to changes in the metagame. This is especially true regarding the sideboard. However, certain core cards remain static, notably Tarmogoyf, Ragavan, Renin 6, Liliana the Veil, Thoughtseize, and Inquisition of Kozilek. It's often joked that Jund players really struggle to win their 50% of games. The underlying message is that your decisions when piloting Jund matter a lot. There's a lot to consider regarding sequencing and what to expend resources on. The deck is made to eke out wins from tiny edges, and mistakes punish you more than is typical. It's a deck that rewards skilled play and experience, and I wouldn't recommend it to newer players. In the end, the deck is a pile of the most efficient threats and answers in its colors. Sideboarding and how to beat it. Since none of the cards in the deck are core to its strategy, you can potentially cut any of them, but you still need to have a good mix and density of threats and answers to keep up pressure and disrupt your opponent. Thoughtseize and Inquisition should be cut in grindy matchups since they're bad top decks, except against counterspell decks. Jund excels at beating decks that require a limited number of specific resources it can disrupt, e.g. combo decks, and decks that fold to removal or are susceptible to a high amount of interaction. It struggles against decks that go over the top of it, classically Tron and other big mono decks, and other bigger mid-range decks that have a greater density of high-value cards. Tips and tricks. You can increase Tarmogoyf's stats before and during combat in a number of ways, for example, by discarding with Liliana or Thoughtseize. Similarly, make sure not to inadvertently reduce Goyf's stats, for example, by returning your one and only dead creature with Kolaghan's Command. Renin 6 can continuously return cycling and canopy lands for added card draw. This is important as the game goes long and land drops matter less. Like all Renin 6 plus Boseiju decks, you can eventually get to a point in the very late game when you can start wastelanding your opponent. If you have no cards in hand, Liliana can be bounced in response to its +1 ability, forcing you to discard it. I see many inexperienced Jund players pointlessly discard spells and lands they could play to Liliana. Don't do that. You don't have to cast the spell you cascade into with Bloodbraid Elf, for example, if you don't want to lose life from Thoughtseize when your opponent is empty-handed. I hope you've enjoyed this look at Jund. I want to thank my fellow players in the Magic community for whom sharing their experiences helps make these guides possible. You can find additional resources, such as an up-to-date deck list, in the description. If you think I left out anything important or got something wrong, please leave your thoughts in the comments, and stay tuned to see what deck we look at next time.